plastic is polluting our oceans and beaches. Reports found that over 5 trillion pieces of plastic are littering shorelines across the world, with decades of waste continuing to build up, having a destructive effect on the marine environment. As a response, organisations have been set up all over the world to tackle this issue, caused by our overconsumption and lack of proper disposal of plastic waste, to help save our oceans. Since 1994, the amount of litter found on beaches has increased by 140%, according to the Marine Conservation Society, with the issue continuing to get worse as our use of single-use plastics has become too familiar in everyday life. According to Plastic Oceans, the UK alone is responsible for producing more than 300 million tonnes of plastic waste, with approximately 5,000 found per mile of beach, according to Surface Against Sewage, at least 150 being just plastic bottles. With the need to make a difference, it is the issue on our doorstep we must help change first. I'm going to be finding out about the journey 2 men from an island in the middle of the Irish Sea have been on to clean up their beaches, and join in at a beach clean with one of the UK's leading marine conservation organisations to explore the efforts we are making to solve the issue of plastic pollution on our coastline. My journey will start on the Isle of Man. An island that boasts a 100-mile coastline with beautiful beaches and crystal clear waters has earned the status of having some of the cleanest beaches in the world, and I want to find out how this has been made possible. One resident who is keen to make a difference on tackling plastic waste on the island is Richard McNee, who began a simple initiative called 3 Pieces of Plastic, sharing on social media the amount of litter he was picking up whilst out walking, aiming to remove plastic waste before it reaches the shore to prevent the issue on the beaches getting worse.
Just as part of my daily routine when I was out walking dogs or out running, I was picking up litter and chucking it in a bin. And then the whole plastic thing sort of took off in terms of looking after the environment. So I just started 3 Pieces of Plastic as a way to sort of promote what I was doing and try and encourage other people to do a similar type thing when they were out and about, either in the countryside or on the beaches. So a lot of the stuff we pick up on beaches would be things like cotton wool buds. There are loads of those that presumably have been washed out through the sewer system and are coming back again. Sort of if I go to the glens and the car parks in the plantations and things like that, I find lots of fast food waste, unfortunately. You see quite a lot of, or pick up quite a lot of plastic bottles just listed on the verges. So I think most of those are probably just tossed out of cars as they're driving through. Which is really unfortunate. But we find lots of sweet wrappers and crisp papers, that type of thing, in the glens and plantations and along Marine Drive and places like that where I go. Stuff that's chucked in the countryside. So I pick stuff up on Snaith Fell. That ultimately ends up in the sea if it's disposed of. And that's the bit that I think people miss, because it eventually gets washed down through the streams into the rivers and out into the sea. So if we can stop it as being littered at source, as it were, then it will help keep the beaches clean.
Another man who has made quite the impact on the island is Bill Dale, who began his journey back in 2006, being somewhat of a pioneer of beach cleaning on the Isle of Man. Starting off by himself grew into him setting up the organisation Beach Buddies, which has grown to be popular all over the island, introducing a new understanding of the issue of plastic waste and teaching residents to care for their beaches.
For about 4 or 5 years, not telling anybody what I was doing at weekends. And I ran it on my own for that period because there's a stigma attached to picking up rubbish, but I knew it was the right thing to do. And then when the volunteers started to come along, 40 volunteers turned up on the first day and another 35 the next weekend. I thought, wow, we've got 75 different people turning up for a beach cleaning. I wonder if we'd end up with maybe one day we might have 300 or 400. And by the end of that first year, we had 1,500. And as I say, now we're to 15,000. And what I always say is that this is a tribute to the Manx people.
Education for you has been really important. Why have you wanted to make that one of your main focuses for Beach Buddies?
Okay, Beach Buddies has a theory, and I have had a theory for a very long time, almost since the start of this, that how do you stop the rubbish getting onto the beach? And you have to analyse where it comes from. And it's It's not rocket science, but amazingly, this is not hardly being said anywhere around the world, if anywhere. We all know it's coming down rivers, but how does it get into the river? And the answer is children, mostly, because the items are nearly all fast food containers, tin cans, plastic bottles, drinks bottles. You just throw it in the street. It gets flattened and squashed and goes down the drain, into a river, out to sea, on the beach. So how do you stop it? You stop it at the very, very beginning and stop the children from throwing the stuff in the street in the first place, wherever they are. 1,000 miles from the beach, doesn't matter. 200 miles, 2 miles. It doesn't matter how far you are. It'll go down a drain, in a river, out to sea and on the beach. So then I approached the government about maybe starting an education program. And once that started, the whole thing just went crazy. And everybody wanted to invite us. And now we go and speak in every single school, sometimes several times a year, because some of the schools are big and got big classes. Sometimes I speak at an assembly where there's 400 or 500 people, but mostly it's to groups of about 40 or 50. And then we offer them a beach cleaning event on the back of that. And the whole thing on the basis of that, we really, probably without permission, we have changed the curriculum in the Isle of Man schools.
What changes have been made to help reduce the amount of plastic waste on the Isle of Man?
Maybe the cleverest thing that we did was to introduce a scheme where every access point to a beach we placed and sponsored ourselves, paid a lot of money for these things. We put a special Beach Buddies bin with a message on the side to say, bring a bag, fill it up and make a difference. Throw the bag in the bin, and then we came and emptied it. We're sitting now, here we are in May 2020, and suddenly, after all these years of trying, there's several companies now are getting the idea that this is something that should be rolled out around the world. And it will, without question, and I'll put my soul and life and money and everything on this, it works. It works.
Yeah.
So let's do it. You know, it's not rocket science, it's simple. And if you keep the idea simple and you just have simple messages, people will engage because it makes it easier for them. And everywhere where we have a bin, and we've got 40 of these bins in the Isle of Man on access points to beaches, every single beach is beautiful, pristine, clean. And there, consequently, we have, and it's been identified several times, and particularly in an article in National Geographic magazine in January this year, 2020, saying that we have, and confirming that we have the cleanest beaches in the world.
Since Beach Buddies began, the organisation has collected around 160 tonnes of plastic waste each year from the island's beaches, according to the Manx Wildlife Trust, which is more than 2 million items, mostly being plastic bottles. The island is committed to decreasing the amount of single-use plastics being sold to continue to reduce the issue of plastic waste on their coastline and ensure their beaches stay clean. Back in England, the problem remains prevalent on the beaches, with charities working up and down the country, holding beach clean events much like those on the Isle of Man to help tackle the issue of plastic pollution. Today I'm here in the seaside town of Scarborough to join in with one of the beach cleans run by the Marine Conservation Society, who run events up and down the country to help reduce plastic waste. I'll be meeting Matt Barnes, who works as a volunteer and community engagement officer for the charity, who has kindly let me join in with one of the events run here today. Let's go meet him. Hi Matt, you alright? Nice to meet you. So, what have I got myself in for today?
So today you're going to be helping us with Beach Watch. So it's the UK's largest marine litter monitoring programme. So we're going to be cleaning the beach, but also surveying the litter, so quantifying it all and using that to push for different recycling and enhanced legislation.
And we're here in Scarborough. Are we expecting big things with regards to rubbish?
We are, sadly, yeah. It's quite a populous area. So as we go around the headland here, we're expecting quite a high density litter level. Normally a lot of sewage related debris, quite a lot of mucky stuff as well.
And turnout wise, what are we thinking?
Turnout wise, we never know. It depends on the weather and other things going on in the area, but we have a few regular volunteers and we've got a few people signed up. So we're hoping for, a good haul.
Well, should we go join the group?
Yeah, I'll take you to the group and then we'll give you a briefing.
Brilliant. After a health and safety briefing and a short introduction discussing the scale of the problem on the UK's coastline and what we could expect to find, the group headed to this weekend's location, which was Jackson Bay, to begin the clean-up, an off-the-grid beach that definitely wasn't the easiest to get to. Now we're down here at the location at Jackson Bay. What Matt has asked myself and the team to do is scan a 100 metre length of this stony beach, and what we're looking for is tiny bits of plastic like this, wet wipes, tampon applicators, really anything that we can find that is waste. And what we have to do is go to him,
log what we've found, and he's going to then turn it all into pie charts, send it back to the Marine Conservation Society. What he says about Jackson Bay is that it is one of the worst beaches that he monitors because it is so off the grid. It's not really used by people for every day, so they're not able to come and pick up litter as they go. It's all just washed up on the shore and left here.
Having only been on the beach a short amount of time, already coming across hundreds of pieces of litter, I grabbed Matt for a chat about what he commonly finds during these beach cleans, wondering how it's getting here in the first place.
Typically what we found so far across Yorkshire is the average is about 1,011 pieces.
Right.
We get slightly higher content this year in East Riding, whereas last year it was North Yorkshire, so it does vary. But literally at this location here, we've gone as low as sort of 500 before and as high as 4,000.
Right.
The UK average is about 630 bits of litter
Yeah.
per 100 metres, and I can tell you that we're probably already at about 400, 450 wet wipes.
Yeah.
Not very long,
No.
and we've got 100 metres to do. We're probably about 10% of the way into it.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a topical survey, we're not digging down, but there just is a volume of litter here. We only collect as much as we can, but even passing over where people have been, you'll still notice the odd bit that's been missed. So it's a massive problem. Yorkshire has got its work cut out for us. Generally what we find is to that sort of figure of 1,011 pieces, that's about 40% of the UK average. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the Yorkshire population is dirtier or their habits are dirtier, but it might mean that there's compounding factors. So the tides and currents are pushing more in from other areas. Topography of the beach can affect the litter. So it's kind of it's a mixed message, really.
Yeah. So what's most commonly found? Today we've found a lot of baby
Today
wipes.
it's going to be sewage-related debris and polystyrene.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of the polystyrene is hard. Some of it you can source, so some of it's confectionery from things like kebab boxes, so it's fast food, and that'll be obviously from seaside towns like Scarborough and Bridlington locally. They're selling a lot of polystyrene cups,
Yeah.
Chip containers. Some of the polystyrene will be from agricultural fishing crates,
Yeah.
which is more sort of 3D in shape, and that's obviously lost at sea and then smashed up during the tidal process. So I'd say your two biggest things here are going to be sewage-related debris and polystyrene.
Since the Marine Conservation Society's Beach Watch programme started in 1994, through the data collected at each beach clean have helped to transform the country's legislation on single-use plastic, successfully helping to introduce a charge on single-use bags, which has since created a reduction in the amount of plastic bags that they have been finding, hoping to in the future bring in a legislation for a bottle deposit scheme to hopefully have the same effect. As the group continued to scour through the rocks, I was interested to find out why volunteers were keen to help out with beach cleans, so I spoke to Ash, who regularly volunteers for the Marine Conservation Society, and asked her about why she spends her time helping at these events.
Well, I love the ocean, I love the beaches, I love all the animals, and obviously the state of the world at the moment with all the pollution, especially plastic pollution, things like that, I'm just trying to do my bit really.
Yeah.
Because it's really horrible to see, like to come to the beach and see all the pollution and things like that, and obviously eventually it makes a difference when you're pulling it off, and obviously the surveying 100%, like the plastic bag charge and things like that has come from things like this, so I think it's really important to get involved and try and open people's eyes about it, and obviously get the legislation changed and things like that, because that's the only way that we're going to make a difference from higher up, really.
100%, and you were saying it's so easy to just come down and attend one of these events.
It doesn't take a lot of time at all, it doesn't take up your whole day, it's nice being on the beach as well.
Exactly.
So.
We spent over 2 hours collecting litter on this small section of the beach, and it was amazing to see how much we were able to find, from tampon applicators, hundreds of wet wipes, fishing line, straws and plastic bottles, just to name a few. After clearing the area, Matt weighed all of the bags of rubbish to see how much we had collected, which is then turned into data for the Marine Conservation Society, helping them to continue their mission to change legislation on plastic waste in the UK. Speaking to each of these people, it is great to see the amount of hard work and dedication they are willing to put in to help clean our beaches and stopping the issue at its cause. Being able to join in with an event and see for myself just how bad the issue is right on our doorstep showed me just how easy it is to help make a difference. There is no doubt the need for these groups' efforts will only be continued if we don't change our relationship with how we use and treat plastic. So next time you go to buy a plastic bottle or put a wet wipe down the toilet, think of where this will end up and who the people are behind picking it up, so we can help to keep tackling Britain's plastic beaches.